A presentation is a high stakes situation. Think about it yourself. Have you ever stood before an audience and felt incredibly vulnerable? Maybe felt like your reputation was, kind of on show. A presentation is a place where you can pretty much make or break your reputation. So I want to share with you 5 hot tips that I think you should consider next time you do a big presentation. Let's have a conversation about that. Hi, Colin Boyd here, founder of Oxygen Coaching and Training, international speaker and coach. Today's conversation is about the 5 big ideas that I think you should consider in your next presentation. Now, the first big idea is to end before you start. What I mean by that is have a really clear picture about what action you want the audience to take before you even start planning your presentation. Most people make the mistake of thinking, what do I want to say? But necessarily that is not always the best thought. Because when you think about the point of a presentation is to either shift people's thinking, change people's emotions, or get them to actually do something. So at the start of a presentation, before you even think about what do I want to say, I would consider what do I want my audience to do? So in other words, end before you start. The second big point to consider is to start strong. What I mean by that is the first 3 to 5 minutes of any presentation really is the most crucial part of your presentation. Think about this, the first 3 minutes that you're listening to someone, you're on some level questioning whether you should be listening to them. You're on some level questioning whether you can trust them or whether they're credible. So those first 3 minutes is almost like starting a race. If you could imagine running like a 100-meter race, if you were to trip up at the blocks, it's going to be pretty challenging to catch up with the other players. So those first 3 minutes are crucial. So making sure that you've practiced it a number of times and feel really comfortable with those first 3 minutes is the second key to presenting effectively. Now the third key is to use a balanced brain approach. Now what that means is any presentation needs to take into consideration the right and the left brain. If you've got too much left brain, what I mean by that, too many graphs, too many facts, too many statistics, too much data, people are going to kind of just glaze over. Now, if you've got too much right brain, like too many stories, too many metaphors, people are going to say, well, what studies do you have? What facts do you have to support this? So in every presentation, for it to be effective, it has to have a balanced brain approach. I was working with a client just recently doing some mentoring with him on his presentation, and he was speaking about asset management. Now, asset management is not really we could say an exciting topic. And he said to me, Colin, you know what, the presentations that I've done have I could literally see the people falling asleep with their eyes open. And so the idea that I brought to him was around this balanced brain approach. So we brought in some nice metaphors, some stories. We had this story about this guy called George, who was one of the first clients that he ever worked with. And we weaved this story about George at the start and at the end, and it just kind of beautifully tied the presentation together. And he came back to me and he said, Colin, the people loved it. And he said, and they loved me. And when I think about this, it just brought a smile to my face and to my heart, because when I think about it, bringing this balanced brain approach of right and left brain is one of the keys to engaging and creating persuasive presentations. So that's the third key, the balanced brain approach. Now, the fourth hot tip that I have for you around building a powerful presentation is using PowerPoint as an aid, not the presentation. So think about it like a bit of a walking stick in a sense. The walking stick doesn't make you walk, but it just helps you walk. So with your presentations, don't have every single word up on your presentation. Think of it as an aid to support or reinforce what you're saying, not to actually say what you're saying. So simple images, one simple word, just a nice reinforcement rather than too complex ideas on the presentation will make a big difference to making your presentation powerful. And the fifth and last big idea that I have for you is to use the 3rd time lucky method. Now what I mean by that is, have you ever thought about doing your presentation that's coming up and maybe you're going to do it for the first time and you're thinking, oh my gosh, how's it going to go? How's it going to come out of my mouth? So often people make the mistake of just practicing their presentation in their head, they don't practice it out loud. So as a recommendation, I believe that you should practice your presentation out loud from end to end at least 3 times. And I would do it in front of the mirror or in front of like a friend or a colleague or something, or even just standing there in your office by yourself. That might look a bit weird. I don't want you to be looking weird in your office. So if you're just talking to yourself, it might look weird. But what I'm saying is practice it 3 times. So in other words, the first time you deliver your actual presentation is actually the 4th time you've delivered it. That will help you to be elegant and fluent with the delivery of it. So they're the 5 hot tips five hot tips that I would recommend you having in your next presentation. Hi, so I trust today's been valuable around the 5 hot tips in making your presentation powerful. Now, what I'd love to hear from you is if you could comment below, what's been most valuable out of those 5 tips? What's been most valuable for you and probably most relevant for you right now? If you could just write down below, give me some feedback, that would be fantastic. And I trust if this has been valuable, please like it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or opt into my opt-in form, and you'll be able to receive this on a weekly basis, and you'll be able to upskill yourself in this area of presentations every single week. Speak to you soon. Now the 4th key, Hey, so I trust today has been valuable.